Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another video where we review a level release. And today we're here to talk about script-based monitors. If you've been using Level for a while, you're already familiar with monitors. They can be found here under Policies, and it's a monitor policy. And let's just examine one. I have one here called Servers, and we can see here that we're targeting 46 devices with this tag and 13 devices with this tag. So as we total these 59 devices here that we're targeting, we monitor everything that's over here on the right. So we have a connection monitor, and this would be used to determine if the device is online or not. We have some monitors here that are looking at performance indicators like CPU, disk, memory, and so on. And so far, we have several built-in monitors, but today we're introducing a new type of monitor called a script-based monitor. The idea behind this new type of monitor is that we should be able to use a script to query any sort of information from a device, meaning that if we can write a script to pull any value from a device, then we should be able to generate an alert based on what is returned. So let's look at an example together. Let me connect to the command line of one of these devices here. And let's say that we wanted to monitor if devices uptime exceeds a certain value. Because if a device has had a very long uptime, then that's also a good indicator that patches haven't been installed if it hasn't been rebooted, especially on end user devices. If a device has been up for a long time, then you know how things are. Things they may just be running slow or whatever, and so a reboot is often required just to fix some funny things going on. So let me paste here this command. This is just a one-liner that is going to calculate the total uptime of this device. All right, so we can see that it is 11.27 days. And so that's all we really need to do. We could turn this into a script, and so let's do that right now. Make a script. And we'll leave that as PowerShell, and the timeout of 100 seconds will be fine. All right, so we have created our script. Now let's go over to policies. And I am going to, let's just edit this exact same one that we looked at earlier for servers. And I'm going to add a new monitor. Time is too long. All right. And we are going to choose the new option here to run a script. Many of the options in here are the same if you're familiar with other monitors. Let's say that we would like to have a severity of warning. And now let's select script we just created called return uptime. Now, here is where we evaluate the output of that script. And so in this case, we want to say if the script or if the value is greater than, and let's just say for the purpose of this, let's just say 15 days. And hopefully I have some servers that have been up for greater than 15 days. I certainly think there are. And here we can enable the ability to auto reserve the alert if it's no longer applicable. I'm sorry, I skipped over some of these. For the purposes of this demo, I want to keep it at a high frequency. And so we're going to run this every minute, that script to check it. But in reality, I would probably set this to run once a day, right? Because that's as frequent as we would just need to know the uptime. But in this case, I do want to know right away. So let's just run it every minute. We could run a remediation script. For example, we have a script in here that could prompt the end user. There we go. It's a toast notification to prompt the end user to reboot because they have exceeded what we deem as a healthy threshold. I won't do anything like that today. And we also have the ability to send notifications both when it's triggered and when it's resolved, but we'll stop there. All right, so that's the basics of a script-based monitor. Let's go ahead and add it. Now, right now, I can see that I have 110 total monitors in our lab here. So I've just enabled this, and let's just give it a minute and see, because it's going to take about a minute before this monitor is added to this monitor policy and is evaluated. Okay, there we go. I see that that number has now increased to 111. Let's click over to the alerts and let's see. Here we go. Uptime is too long for a device called Jessica Jones. And if we scroll down, we can actually see here the system uptime is 47 days. Perfect. So now we know that our new script-based monitor is working. And you can imagine that we could send a notification, for example, to an email or to a group or even to a ticketing system to handle this. But this is just a way that we can capture anything. Now, I do want to also highlight that we have been creating a GitHub repo full of scripts and script-based monitors. And so if you go to level software/scripts at GitHub and we drill into PowerShell, you'll see that we have two folders. We have scripts and monitors. And obviously under monitors, here's where you'll find some of the ideas that we've been toying with. So for example, script here that would watch to see if your list of trusted administrators are there and nothing more than this. So you can imagine if somebody created a new administrator account and it wasn't one that was sanctioned, then you might want to know that. So we could trigger an alert. We could check if BitLocker was enabled. We could check disk performance. In this case, what we're doing is we're actually downloading Microsoft's tool, disk spd.exe, and we run it, and it can actually check disk latency and IOPS and produce a result in a report. And in this case, we will alert if the performance is not within normal parameters. We can look for a USB drive. We can check if there are accounts that were used for temporary purposes. So if the account contains things like temp and test, etc., in it, then it's a good indicator that the account was only intended for testing. And so if the accounts are enabled and they have that, then we should probably generate an alert. We can watch for disk errors to see if DNS servers are configured properly. We can trigger alerts if there is an event ID that it shows up in an event log, and in this case, the application log looking at event ID 1000. And this just goes on and on. If a file contains something or if a file exists, the host file contains something, right? So these are all the ideas. What this comes down to is if there's a way that we can run a script against it, whether it's PowerShell or Bash, etc., just to get some information out of the system, then we should be able to now create a monitor and alert on that. We welcome any and all contributions to this repository. And if you just have an idea or a suggestion for a script-based monitor and aren't quite sure how to start, please let us know and we'll be happy to do our best to try to create that script-based monitor for you and add it to the repository. Well, that's it for now. Hopefully this was useful for you. We'd like to thank you for choosing Level. Bye-bye.